Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the Summit 5 Chinese qualifiers. We're here taking a look at VG.Reborn facing off against the Wings Gaming. We've done it. We've been able to make it to game number 3. I'm Lyrical Dota, joined today by Scantzor. How you doing? You excited about this game? I mean, I ask you it every time, but I keep on hearing the same answer. I feel like you're excited.
Yeah, I'm pretty damn excited. It's this is an important game. The winner of this goes to, I think, the final. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. That they're going to end up moving on to the grand final, facing off against the winner of our next series and the winner of this. They're going to move on, yeah.
The winner of our next series and the loser of this one.
Exactly.
Whoever wins that series. Yeah. First pick IO. So Wings just, you know what? They can do anything. So this game they're going to do an IO draft. Interestingly, I was talking last game about banning Bounty and Elk and picking Doom, those being the 3 gold cheating heroes. This game, only one of the 3 is banned in the first phase, so Doom is available again if VGR want to go for it. There's an Elk if either team wants to go for an Alchemist draft. Both of these teams do draft the hero. So
it does seem a little bit. Picking it like in the early stages seems like it might be a little bit too much, but they also, I mean, Doom and Alk both are there. They could go for it though if they wanted to. I guess it just comes down to preference of how they want to try and deal with the IO.
Yeah, I think VGR did play an Alk yesterday against IG, if I'm not mistaken. They're gonna lead with the Faceless Void, so that's pretty interesting. A hero that's, it's fairly popular, but it says something kind of specific about what you're gonna do. And well, Faceless Void, Phoenix, they're going for the team fight. They don't want to be the team that. I mean, this is very clear from last game that Wings just had a better. I mean, firstly, I think Wings kind of ultimately outplayed VGR, but first and foremost, they had a much stronger 5v5 setup. And VGR won a few fights because they were just playing out of their minds and finding the right positions to initiate and getting the Dooms and the tight end. So this game, VGR are saying, well, we want to actually have that advantage for the team fights. Just makes it easier to approach the game if that's the case. And starting with the Phoenix and the Void, they're both fantastically strong in 5v5 situations. Going to be difficult for Wings to contest that area of the game, at least.
Yeah, I mean, already just showing off that this is what they're going to be going for. I mean, there's the obvious sort of combo that you get there with the Faceless Void Chronosphere being able to control the IO. What I'm really waiting for this game is like the double bluff where IO just relocates by himself on top of Faceless Void and waits for the Chronosphere and then like buys back and they win the game. That'd be the ultimate. That's the play right there if you're capable of doing it just for a solo kill on the IO. But I have a feeling that might just be shenanigans that I'm building up in my head. So what do you do then to respond to this? Do you go for the Wings a whole heck of a lot of heroes that have really low cooldowns and try and fight in between, or do you try and one-up them yourselves and take something like an Enigma early, or what do you feel like the play might be?
I still think it could be an Elk draft. I'm not sure. If you have the IO, one way to deal with the group up 5v5 fights is just the split push. That's something you certainly can do. IO can also defensively save someone potentially if they get caught in the initiation. It's interesting that Wings banned Lion this game, by the way. We did talk about the popularity of the hero, but it's mostly popular as a pick. It's hardly ever banned. They have been banning Bats every game, but first time they banned Lion in the series, I believe, and I guess just annoyed at the fact that the Lion was such a strong support in lane that the other support could jungle that game with just the gyrocopter. But I'm not sure if Wings will. I'm wondering if they'll give away their IO partner with this pick right now. I don't think they're a team that needs to, because it's not like you can just ban out the Tiny or something. They're going to have plenty of heroes. They're happy to play with it.
Right.
So they take the Slaughter, which gives away very little. Could be safe lane, could be off lane. This, by the way, I talk about Wings being a team that does strange things in their draft. The first time I ever saw this team do something very strange, it did involve a Slaughter, actually. This was at a few months ago now. I can't remember where they ran the offlane Slaughter. They had a Chen and I believe a Vengeful Spirit.
Right.
And at level 1, Slaughter just joined the Chen and Vengeful Spirit and they just ran around the map smoke ganking. Like, just wasn't ever an offlane.
That's hilarious.
So that's a thing this team has done before with this hero. I'm not saying they'll do it this game. They probably won't. But Elk is being banned by VGR, so they recognize that that's one of the potential threats to them from Wings. And Wings banned this Ven themselves, which a popular pick in China, combining with the Faceless Void, even though it seems counterintuitive sometimes to people. Good setup for the hero.
Yeah, it does, and then you've also
10
got the
seconds
potential there to
remaining.
like, Chronosphere the back line, and then just separate the squad into two and
5
deal with
seconds
one with the
remaining.
Sven quickly, and then go back in afterwards. And yeah, I'm a little bit interested too. You look at the Wings gaming; they responded very slowly to the Phoenix Faceless Void. I mean, it got down to 8 seconds reserve time on their second pick. Like this
Radiant
is
team
pretty
battle.
bold, and also going to see the Drow band out. I mean, it kind of. I've seen the IO drafts work before, but if that's something that Wings were going for, it was very well hid. The fact that they took IO Slardar, not the normal partners that you would expect to see with the Drow Ranger there.
This is what VGR are doing. FY is trying to make sure that they're not at a draft disadvantage, right? So
Yeah.
he starts with the two big AoE heroes, so that okay, we're not going to be just getting owned by a team fight. They have a tide and we don't. Then he bans the Drow and the Ulk, which are basically, I'd say, cheese bans. He wants to make sure they're not dealing with a suddenly there's a Drow snowballing, suddenly there's an Ulk snowballing. So I think FY is just trying to drop like make sure that if they lose this game, it won't be based on the draft. And instead of, I mean, some teams sometimes in the draft you're trying to win the draft outright, and sometimes what you're doing is just trying to make sure that it's at least okay. And I think that's kind of like the approach here is he doesn't feel like his team needs to dominate the draft to win. He just wants to make sure they don't get a disadvantage in the draft.
Yeah. Well, and I'm looking now also. The Lion Band makes a little bit more
10
sense
seconds
in the
remaining.
context of taking Ember Spirit. They've still got decent lockdown for
5
him. The
seconds
Chronosphere
remaining.
is always going to be a great answer for the Ember Spirit if you're capable of getting it as those sleight of fists.
Reserve time.
Procs come out, he leaves the remnant there. You find the quick and easy chrono onto Ember, and all of a sudden he's going to be stuck and not able to really dodge away from any of the attacks that are coming in. But it does cause a couple of issues here. As I'm looking at the lineup for the Wings gaming, like already their lineup doesn't do a ton of damage pre like Slardar getting the blink online, and Ember Spirit needs to get a couple of items too. It feels like they might be on the back foot already a little bit and need to rely on that IO for as a ganking hero.
10
Which
seconds remaining.
honestly, I mean, he's great at what he does, but they've got a lot of ways already to somewhat deal with it.
Radiant team pick.
At the same time, there's weaknesses in VGR's draft as well. If we assume Phoenix and Venge are the supports, neither of those are great at sort of zoning out offlaners, controlling them early on. So it's a way for Wings to squeeze in some extra value. And
Dire team.
they go back for the DP. It's pretty common combination. Interestingly enough, DP and Ember Spirits coming out together the way that they like to fight. DP likes to fight sort of be in the front line, be in the middle. She can tank up, she can siphon people, use herself, and Ember Spirit on the periphery.
10 seconds
Slaughter is also going to be an extra front liner that goes really nicely with Ember Spirit. So there's internal synergy in Wings this draft, very much so.
Yeah.
Still ask the question about if the team fight situation is going to happen. Do they have what it takes to deal with like the team fight ultis from VGR?
Yeah. Now, I don't expect to see it, but I am just going to throw this out there. At one point in time in H Cup, FY ran an Iron Talon jungling Invoker. I don't expect to see that game, but I figured I'd throw it out there just to let everybody know that that's a thing that happened in this world that we live in.
Yeah. It was very early though, right? It was like one of the first H Cups. And
It
like,
was.
they were trying things out. So
Reserve time.
It was.
I don't think we'll see the return of the Iron Talon Invoker.
I like the pick though. It seems pretty strong given the context of this draft, and now another very defensive hero in the Dazzle going to get taken for Wings Gaming. They don't have a lot of heroes that like do things in the early stages. It's two defensive supports.
Yeah, I mean at the same time VGR their burst is kind of limited,
Yeah.
and if if you're gonna catch someone in a chronosphere and they're gonna be kept alive by the Eye and the Dazzle, that's kind of problems for you. That's like pretty. I mean, obviously your ideal situation is you're catching the Eye and the Dazzle themselves,
Reserve time.
but I think that
5 seconds.
I feel like Wings' draft right now, if they fight through the initial initiation from VGR in a team fight, they're actually favored. And Dazzle and I, that's kind of the plan behind those picks, I think. Just to, we deal with your round one of punches, and then we've got like another 3 or 4 swarms from DP and a few more slights from Ember Spirits, and plus add the amplified damage in. I understand what Wings are trying to do, but at the same time, I think Slark rounds off VGR's draft very, very well, and Slark is going to be an absolute pest in this game, just like it was in the last game.
I mean, what do they really have to control him at this point? They got Slardar stunned, and that's literally it. Like, the silence from DP is good, but I am, God, I am really, really concerned for Wings. Like, do they just have to go sort of balls to the wall and try and just take down towers on cooldown with DP ulti? That, to me, feels one of the only ways that they can really win this game, because, like, they really don't have any answer for Slark.
Yeah, it's not great for them.
They
Wings
just
have smoked from the fountain immediately.
That must have been a misclick.
It's Wings. It is.
What does that mean in this context?
Well, I mean, this is like, I honestly believe that this is like we as the sort of analytical community, this is the team that we have least insight into, like, the way that they actually think about the game. And okay, getting up too early wards, I feel like the smoke could be designed almost partially just for that. Like, the extra speed when you TP out, get both those wards up, and other heroes have moved out very quickly. I mean, by the way, this is not like an insulting thing I'm trying to say. It's something quite impressive about Wings, that they are so resistant to analysis. They're like, I think it, I mean, look, I'm not a professional player, and I'm not working for a team as an analyst or anything, but at the same time, I would say that it gives them some advantages in some tournaments where they play as well. And I've heard some players saying similar things going up against Wings, that, for example, ESL, that it's a team that's difficult to prepare for because they do so many different things, and a lot of things they do are just not normal or usual things.
Right. Well, that's the thing that everybody was saying at the start of this patch in general, is that you have to prepare for a particular team because there's so many different viable strategies. And if Wings have all of those viable strategies, how do you prepare for them? You have to prepare for just everything, which isn't really an answer either. So I would agree with you. That's something that I remember particularly Swindles was talking about on Complexity, the fact that, you know, coming into the Manila, or rather I think even Shanghai Major, he was talking about it, that there's so many viable first picks nowadays. So I'm really curious to see how this ends up working. Do you think that there's any sort of idea that people could be saving strats for the Manila Major, considering it's so close, or is that not something that these teams are going to be thinking about?
I mean, I really hate the idea of that. I do think that, as a matter of fact, some teams save strats for big tournaments, especially for TI, maybe more so than Major. And I think it's possible people are this early on saving for TI. First blood in the top lane, I hope you caught that type. Okay, great. But personally, I don't like the idea of it that much, just because I feel like you need to practice strategies, if that makes sense. And you don't get proper value practice just from scrims. You actually need to practice strategies in officials. And I think that the positive value from practicing a strategy in official usually offsets the value of, like, hiding it and saving it. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's like, occasionally there's like a certain pick or a certain way to play a certain hero or something like that, that it's such a huge impact thing that if you only reveal it later on, it's actually worthwhile. It can really give a big advantage in a tournament.
I would agree. And I mean, it's worth noting that you do have a lot of officials for China. We've been seeing a ton of qualifier matches, and, you know, H Cup was around for a while as well. They've got DPL, is that the name of it, that's starting up as well relatively soon? So
it's already started, actually.
Okay, yeah, it's there's a lot of games to be played, and so because of that, there's those internal metas that go on between these teams, and we saw some of that already. But you can see already over here in the off lane, they're going to be able to get a couple of big stacks, and this is going to really help to accelerate the farm potentially for the side of VGR. The first blood showing that this lane is very dangerous for the Slardar. He tried to be able to get that the catch, and actually is going to roam around behind, trying to see if he can get a pick off on the courier. Doesn't look like he's quite going to be there in time, but can still mess with this Invoker.
Yeah, so it's funny, I was talking about how this is a team that's run the offlane Slaughter, just roams early on. Unfortunately, the supports don't roam that well with him to make kills, but no, he's struggling to get value in the lane. He's trying to get to an Iron Talon in the meantime. Let's see what he can do with a little rotation to the mid lane.
Quick and easy stomp might be enough there. They end up being able to get it. There's going to be the Spirit Siphon as well as the Crypt Swarm, and now Io here as well to try and see if they can bring him down. The Cold Snap onto the Slardar. He is barely going to be able to not get away. I thought he was going to be able to, but not quite in time. And actually body blocking here with these Forge Spirits. This might end up being a killer. Did he literally just do that? They've got the Sunray that comes in, and they turn it back around. Huge plays by that Invoker. And that was the most value Forge Spirit I've ever seen.
Yeah. And it's funny because the kill on him starts off with the slaughter body blocking him a bit, so just showing that two can play that game. Really well played by VG. I didn't expect them to make a kill back there.
And well, we'll see again if this is going to end up translating into something big. I mean, it's not first blood, obviously. That did go the way of VGR at the very start. Off lane, I don't think that there's a great way for them to kill off Yang, but simultaneously, I don't think that he poses a ton of threats to the side of Wings. Maybe just being able to disrupt the farm slightly, and you can see that already. Oh man, rotation in towards mid, a lot of damage going out. They are going to be able to head out of there for the moment. FY not going down, and it looks like they're going to be able to keep this DP alive for the moment. Nice play.
Yep, there's still an extra bottle charge being used now on the IOs. The DP was always safe. They were hoping to bait a little bit. VGR don't fall for the bait. Rune's gonna get denied. Unfortunate. I would have liked to bottle it, but the other heroes are a bit closer. And interesting thing about this game, I said one of the reasons that Lion was banned is because it was able to function with the gyro on its own, and a lot of the stronger carries you can with just a Lion. You can shut down offlaner. But Slaughter manages to get shut down anyway, and I was talking about how Venge and Phoenix are not the best at zoning, but you put them both together, you make that early kill, and they did push the Slaughter out, but he's got a lot of value on his tower now, he's managed to gank, he's got an Iron Talon, he's farmed some jungle, so he's certainly finding value.
You know, we saw there at the 4-minute mark, 7 heroes mid. This has been such a clunky game in terms of the way that the heroes have been roaming around, and they've been covering each other fairly effectively. It doesn't look like this is... It's coming out into VGR's favor, definitely. You look at the experience and net worth graph already at just this 5-minute mark, and it's already about 1,000 gold lead. And I can't help but think a lot of that is just the Slardar who's been sort of roaming around relative to what the Void's been able to get in his offlane, but maybe just a hero that's more equipped to make that happen? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's the 5-minute mark. I feel like it's not that big a deal very early on. Often the lane stage doesn't matter that much, actually, in the current meta. I mean, some games matters a lot, but there's a lot of games where what happens immediately after the lane stage is much more important. Invoker's gone to farm the jungle a little bit, giving space to FY's Phoenix in the mid lane. That's very nice of him. And Invoker, I noticed, did buy the infused raindrops. Something I've noticed more recently. Invoker's having mana problems, so spending gold on raindrops and clarity is a bit more just to kind of shore up those holes in the hero.
Well, and now the Midas picked up for the Slark at the 5 minutes. That is mighty quick. And we've seen what this hero can do if he gets off to a hot start. It definitely feels like that's going to be the case. Already level 6, and he's been just given a lot of room to farm. I don't know, again, we've talked about being worried about this. They're actually going to wrap around now and are going to be able to find Faith Beyond. There's going to be the catch, but also have Innocence here. He's going to be able to keep him alive a little bit, have the capability to jump after this if they want, but it looks like they're not going to end up diving for it, as they did not have FY in the area quick enough to get the Sun Ray.
And there's a sort of subtle subliminal pressure game going on here. Invoker's going to go Midas. Slark already has Midas, and the cores on the side of Wings, they actually can't. DP and Ember Spirit are not. Oh, Ember Spirit dies to Chrono solo by Yang.
Oh my god, that was absurd. He's got the 2 points in Bash, but meanwhile, top lane, a little bit more of a battle coming out. End is going to be able to pull this off for the moment. They turn on to Innocence, and there's this Shallow Grave to keep him alive. Again, those defensive supports being pretty freaking helpful. End is going to take a lot of damage here and might actually end up going down. They find the kill. FY, though, able to take out the IO in the same stroke. Still very worth it right there for Wings to be able to find that kill. And with Icarus dive down, this might end up being another kill as Slardar is going to chase. I don't know if he has enough damage there. He needs to get a couple of, well, not bashes because he doesn't have any points in that as of yet, but he's going to have another crush in a little bit. Well, he thought about it, but didn't end up going for it.
He's hanging around. He's going back in. There's a dive up again now. So FY should be fine. But
FY? Maybe? He's gonna dive away. Actually, 7 HP. Why not? DP ends up getting killed off there as well. And now trying to go back in for a counter initiation. They're doing a ton of damage with the Sunray. Phoenix not at all afraid with just 14 HP, and they actually force him back. The kill came out.
It was well played by FY waiting to the last second, especially since his teammates were fighting the DP on the other side of the fight. And the point I want to make before all the kills started happening is you have a Midas soon on Invoke, you have a Midas on Slark, and Ember Spirit and DP are not heroes that can buy Midas, and so naturally they're going to get behind. And that puts pressure on Wings immediately, just seeing the Eisen progression. Wings need to be aggressive, and that's they turn on the aggression immediately. They try and that's why they like want to get early kill, want to go for these towers. But it's
Dire's middle tower.
I don't know. It's a tough one for Wings actually. We did talk about some of the stuff in the draft, dealing with the lineup of VGR, but just economically, I'm talking about the build up is going to be difficult for them to keep up with here.
Oh, and now they are going to be able to chase down this DP. My God, this is a lot of damage, but the overcharge helping a little bit, and with Io healing her back up, she's going to be fine. But yeah, you know, every moment where Wings are not capable of being aggressive, it does feel like it's a lost opportunity for them. And you never want to be able to count out late game Ember Spirit. He does a whole lot, but so does Slark. And Slark is definitely one of those heroes that can take over in the late mid game.
And the problem is that Ember Spirit only starts farming when he gets to Battle Fury, and the way this game is going, Slark could already have like a 3-4k gap ahead of Ember Spirit at the stage that he gets to his Battle Fury this game. Invoker might as well. Phoenix as well is going to go for a Midas. We see the gloves being picked up. It's typical on this hero, mostly because the hero doesn't actually need any items, just its skill set. So might as well get the Midas, get those extra levels, and then you can farm into extra value on the Shivas or whatever. Interesting, FY is not actually leveled Fire Spirits. Usually we see 1-1-3. Got 2 points in the Icarus dive, which really doesn't scale very effectively. So I don't know. I guess not taking Fire Spirits is just a concern about the mana pool. Sometimes people have that concern, especially once you get to level 6. But
top lane, End actually ends up turning onto Faith Beyond. They thought that they were going to end up going for that one there. It was pretty close to a kill, but unable to get it. Yeah, it's, I guess, just the thought there is there's not a ton of heroes that right-click him all that much. DP can hit his egg, but I guess that he's not too worried about trying to slow down attack speed. It's much more, Sleight of Fist and DP ulti that are the issue, and trying to, I don't know, I guess get the damage per second up before Icarus dive? I don't know. Drive-by. Nicely played.
I feel like the value you get from leveling up Icarus dive is so minute. I don't know. I hesitate to criticize FY, but I do feel like the payoff is so tiny that you probably might as well just have that value point Fire Spirits.
Oh my God. Speaking of which, though, this is going to be a huge problem. They come on in, they find a quick and easy one. Faceless Void rotation with that Chronosphere, and it's not often that you expect suddenly for there to be 4 heroes in your mid lane taking you down, but VGR are going to be able to take the tier 1 tower in the mid lane. Unless there's a quick rotation, they're going to end up jumping into this one, and there's the Ember Spirit going for the initiation, gets the chains on a No-No. They're also going to bring in the IO trying to do some more damage here. Can they find a kill on a No-No? They're not quite in range to be able to get it. There's going to be the Ember Spirit jumping forward, dodges that one away from the Ember Spirit, but Faceless Void kills off the IO. The chase is going to continue here as DDC is going to try and run away, and it looks like they are finally going to maybe bring him down. Icewell is such a good spell, and he actually doesn't have the mana for chains. They're not going to be able to kill off that Invoker. Oh, man.
Very well played by VGR, and Wings recognized that they had to. The only way to fight there is they had to start an Invoker. He's the only viable target for them to actually go for. And VGR just pull out all the stops. They get the right stun off. The Invoker dukes once, turning on the Ember Spirit when he ramps after him, and then gets the Ice Wall up and TP's out. So well played by No-No and VGR, recognizing that that's the only hero they need to really focus on keeping alive in the fight.
That was a really great play for them to be able to just make that escape. I totally thought he was going to go down there, but again, it kind of harkens back to, I feel like, one of the problems in their draft that I don't know if they get enough out of the supports. Like, you think about the other big supports that are around, and it's like the Lion, you think about the Phoenix, for instance, in this game, or the Vengeful Spirit, or, any of those heroes, even a Disruptor at this point would have just done so much, but they're very much all in right now on, I feel like, the DP and the Ember Spirit, which works for them, but it does mean that they're less capable of fighting right now, which is something that VGR are taking advantage of by building all these Midases.
Yep. Slaughter's gonna get Blink soon. That's the one thing that's really looking up for Wings. And that'll be like a super crucial timing. It'll be, I really think they can't sit around and wait, because the static value loss for them is so gigantic against 3 Midases, well, 2 and soon to be 3. So I think we'll see Slaughter buy that Blink, and then we'll see Wings go for some more aggressive plays, possibly using the Relocate as well once Innocence gets level 6, which is happening very soon too.
And FY just going to be able to TP out of there for a moment, not going to get caught. They are still looking. Yeah, you look at this positioning right now by ZYF. If they had a Blink there on Slaughter, that would be such an easy kill for them, but He's actually just going to wrap around. The rest of the side of VGR is not with him. They're currently trying to go for a smoke play down in the bottom lane, and they might realize this is happening, but I think Faith Beyond, he's just going to end up getting destroyed here. They do end up turning this back around. He's so close and does look like he's going to end up getting brought down. A quick and easy kill. Looks like Innocent should be able to escape. Doesn't get a bash for Yang, and that's another one going their way.
Yeah, it's a classic strategy. You gank into the important targets. The Slider's the one who's going to threaten you. The IO relocates. You know, if IO's going to get level 6 soon. If you fight somewhere else, they can still come in. But you gank into the Slider, and there's no response possible for Wings. So it's tactically very smart of BGR.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Well, infused raindrops abound, apparently, as DDC has picked them up for themselves. It's a pretty great item. If you're capable of keeping yourself alive with that, then it totally pays for itself. The big problem that I'm seeing right now for Wings, though, is that we haven't really seen an effective DP ulti used outside the one that took the tier 1 tower in the top lane, and that was so early on in the game. It just doesn't feel like, because of how mobile VGR's heroes are, they're going to get a great opportunity to make that happen.
Yeah, and it's a problem because DP is a really poor hero at playing from behind. Like, it really wants to play from ahead, and that's why I said the Slaughter's blink timing is kind of like the last ingredient for them to just go full aggro. They're going to smoke up, they're going to try and catch the Void here.
Oh, that's a pretty good one. If they're capable of finishing this off, they do have a lot of damage, and that's going to be the kill. They actually popped the Exorcism for that one, and it looks like they're going to have to try and turn this into something. Maybe they can go for the tier 1 tower in the mid lane. They're making a beeline for it right now. 1,200 gold swing off of that one kill. Very, very good. But can they actually convert on the back of it into anything effective?
They need to be a little bit careful here, because when Exorcism runs out, they could just get initiated on. That's how I feel.
Well, Sleight of Fist. Shadow just going to blink. Gets away from there. The Magic Missile is eventually going to find him, and yeah, no real chance for them to find anything. Ember Spirit picks up his boots, though, so going to be able to get around the map a little bit more effectively and show up when his teammates need him, get that split push game under control. There's pieces here for a comeback, but right now you can see that it's definitely VGR in the driver's seat.
Yep, and they're just going to go for the rush now. No Exorcism, they know that there's no way that they can be contested in a fight. They've got the Invoker, Forge Spirits. He hasn't actually summoned his Forge Spirits. Okay, there we go. Maybe he decided, you know, I need a handicap. I'll do this on my own. Summons the Forge Spirits, uses the Alacrity. It's going to be an easy rush for them, and the game just gets that level harder for Wings at this point. Oh, there's the Aegis online on this Invoker, and I expect to see VGR going after objectives. Not that they actually need to, because they can just passively sit with their Midases and increase their lead, but I think they will, just because they can. I think they'll kind of like strut their stuff.
We'll see if that is indeed what they want to go for, and you know, they're going to hit a nice timing here where maybe if you get a little bit further ahead, you're going to be in a great position. Yang picking up the Diffusal Blade. They do spot out the location right now, VGR, but again, it's really hard for them to fight into this lineup. They just don't really have the most amount of damage. And now, I mean, they don't even really need to use Diffusal Blade necessarily to be like super aggressive. It could just be for like an escape mechanism. They Diffusal Blade the DP and then just run away from her while she's got her ulti up if they need to. But here comes the play as they're going to wrap around. FY out front and center, does have the Icarus dive as well as Supernova if they want to get it. Actually completely out of mana right now. Shadow is just going to die. He came back. Oh, really good relocate though. The IO's going to be able to keep him alive for the moment. They're going to chase now, seeing if they can find this DP. This might actually be a point for them to fight. Exorcism is back up if they want to take it, but it looks like at least for now they're not going to opt to do it, as Innocence is just going to try and tether away. They do find the tether target in that Slardar, still trying to run, but there's no way Innocence is going to get out of there. So good disengage from Wings.
He's still chasing. Gets juked actually, and
yeah, they don't have vision of him. Nice spot there by Faith.
Yang gets the dazzle at the bot lane though. It's the Chronosphere and should be an easy solo kill.
Well, they get the silence onto him, and now going to look for a little bit more. Is able to Diffusal Blade off the silence, chasing in slightly more, and might be able to find this kill. He's almost out of mana, goes into the trees, but they found him, and there's going to be the crush, and Yang is going to go down. So they get 2 in the end, as they also lost the Phoenix there. So a pretty nice price.
Maybe come in and fight a bit more, yeah.
This would be pretty bold if they end up going for it, as and ends up getting jumped on. He's going to try and go and see if he can finish them off, but no such luck. He wasn't able to kill off Innocence, and now Nono is going to try and TP away. Can they find him? It looks like they aren't quite going to be able to get the crush as the TP out ends up ensuring that Invoker survives. On the other side was also the Vengeful Spirit that was trying to get away and was able to make the escape, so pretty nicely done.
Yeah, a little bit impatient by VGR, I think, after Void dies. You know what, it's after that whole, like, wild goose chase into mid lane, the relocate out, then they chase the Slaughter, can't find him, settle for Chrono to Dazzle, lose their Void. There's just a feeling of frustration for VGR there, where they felt like, we're really strong, we can do whatever we want. And they got, like, kited around the map, eventually pulled into an over-aggressive move, Slark dies, Invoker very easily could have lost Aegis and died as well. Lucky to get out alive, I think. So VGR just needs to be like a little bit more calm and patient. There's no reason to be restless. Like, sure, this is what I was saying before. Like, they can go for plays, but if they fail to make those plays, those ganks, those pickoffs, whatever, it shouldn't really matter to them. They should be fine with that anyway. It's actually Wings who have the pressure on them to make plays because they're the ones with the DP.
They're also the ones that are up against 3 Midases with no great answer. I mean, do you think that late game, though, the Ember Spirit does enough for them that VGR need to be worried? I always think about, you know, Ember picking up a Rapier eventually, getting that Battle Fury and Daedalus online, and just having a tremendous amount of damage. Is that something that VGR need to be concerned about, or do you think they can end the game before that comes about? Oh god, End's just going to walk away. They end up relocating. They aren't going to find him. They actually can't catch up to him. Well, Yule Scepter, maybe something here as they end up being able to get to the chains. He's actually just going to go down. Didn't he have ulti?
Yeah, he did. Just used into silence, like perfect timing on the combo. And, the original initiation wasn't very good by the Slaughter, completely missed, but well done by DP to actually get the kill. VGR do get a tower at the bot lane in the meantime. I do think, going back to your question, I think Ember Spirit could win this late game if he gets super farmed, especially because there's amp damage. Slaughter could be spamming on everyone, which really does make a difference there. But I think that's far away right now. I think VGR are still in a pretty comfortable position. They do need to keep losing, stop losing their Slark though at some point. He's got 2 deaths in pretty quick succession. He's 0 for 3 at this stage.
Oh, ice. Say it ain't so. He goes for the self-grave, is trying to get off the weave, and the Chronosphere comes at the very end. He's actually going to end up falling finally, and a lot of damage. They got the silence off, looking for the exorcism. Can't quite catch up as of yet. A nice crush onto Yang, the swap away, trying to stay alive. They're going to chase after Nono as well. They get the Crypt Swarm off, but don't quite have the damage as of yet, and it looks like he's just going to be able to walk away. On the other side, they're still keeping End here, but he ends up going into Shadowblade, and they're not going to be able to find him. No reveal.
Yeah. So looks like that's just that. VGR are still looking to get something here. Exorcism being used. They'll probably try and push into the tower. Aegis is obviously gone, but Phoenix stores ulti. Chronosphere's down. I wonder if Faith Gunn's considering jumping into initiate here. Looks like he was, and VGR kind of onto that, decide time to pull back.
It's just like a sort of give and take, push and pull that we're seeing where, you know, there's moments where one's ready to party and sort of go at it, and the other one backs out, and sort of playing around those cooldowns. Always good to see that. The Invis rune for Faceless Void. He still doesn't have Chrono for another 40 seconds. And it looks like he's going to end up going back and picking up the Blink. I think he sold something there. I'm not sure what it was. But
could have been a Chroman Shield, something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, Blink's gonna be pretty huge on the Void. Like, that's every time we've seen them in a wild goose chase, not being able to get the Chrono they want, ending up just chronoing as solo supports. It's because he didn't have the Blink. Like, decided to go for the Defeatable Blade first. It is a nice DPS item, utility item, gets rid of a lot of things, but the Blink's gonna be very, very significant, I think. And we haven't, it's been a while since we've seen a fight where Void gets like a really important big Chrono, and I think if that happens, it's really trouble for Wings. So look, we talk about Wisp can relocate people out, Dazzle can grave people, so there are those defensive capabilities. But I think if you catch say the Wisp with the Ember Spirits or the DP or the Start or something like that in a Chrono, that's gonna be a very tough fight for Wings to win.
I would agree. I will say, though, that it's looked strong, the positioning of Wings throughout these fights, that they've been fairly well spread and making sure that they're not all caught together. Because that's obviously, I mean, it's just curtains if you get caught in that, and, you know, Nono is able to get off a really solid meatball or sunstrike onto somebody, it's basically the fight over. And I do still think this is well within striking distance for Wings. They only are down by about 6,000 gold and 5,000 experience. They have a fighting chance, and the smoke play might be one of the things that they need to pull this one a little bit ahead.
They gotta keep fighting. They gotta keep getting value out of the DP. The hero is never gonna want to fight from behind. She's rushing BKB now as the next item, and that's really says a lot about how Wings are thinking about the game. Ooh. They want to push at every advantage they can get out of every exorcism cast.
Oh, don't quite. They're able to dodge the scan just barely, and oh man, that was almost a huge play there. And Yang is gonna end up being able to escape for the moment. God, that would have been huge if they would have been able to catch that chrono, or rather catch the void right before the chrono came out. But unfortunately, they are going to have to back out, and now it looks like VGR are going to be the ones that take the tier 1 tower in the top lane, with Wings backing out.
Yeah, although Wings are getting the tier 1 mid, so still a trade there. Ender's going to have a BKB pretty soon on Slox, and the Death Prophet also going to have a BKB soon. Gearing up for sort of cataclysmic fights, which will be game deciding in the next couple of minutes. And the one big difference in terms of sort of the progression of the heroes is that FY's Phoenix is like is pretty much core level. He's only just behind the enemy offlane Slaughter and way ahead of the other 3 supports. So, and that's something I talk about in the series, like getting away with certain kinds of greed. It's something about Phoenix that's just fantastic, that you can almost always go Midas on this hero.
Right.
And you don't, there's no cost because your main contributions are your skills, which don't depend at all on your items. And because your Sunray is from, we are talking earlier about the importance of Storm Spirit against Phoenix, for example. Because your Sunray is from such far distance away, there's no one who can get onto you and like kill you or stop you from using it. And that's your main contribution to the fight anyway.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely true. And I think that now you can build into these other items that are giving you auras and stuff. The Shiva's Guard's going to be coming out shortly. Maybe eventually, I don't think you're going to ever see an AC on a Phoenix, but you know, those types of items can come out eventually if they want it to. And right now they don't have a mechanism, if I'm not mistaken, on VGR's side. Like, you eventually think about building into a Guardians potentially even. I mean, there's lots of options here for VGR depending upon what way they want to go.
I mean, the Shivas is very possibly game winning, in my opinion. I think that with level 2 ulti with Shivas, a couple of Fire Spirits, it's going to be pretty much impossible for the egg to be destroyed. And that's the point at which you just run it straight head on into fights and expect to never be able to lose them.
This is big. They get the crush onto Yang. Oh, nice swap away by DDC, but this might be the moment that they need. Chronosphere only catches onto 1, but the BKB's already been popped. Ice still alive for the moment they are able to kill off the DP. The Grave came onto the Dazzle, and now they aren't really going to be able to take this fight effectively. I don't think a huge portion of their damage is gone, and suddenly you're going to need to try and get away here for a moment. On this Ember Spirit, he's getting controlled by Yang and just right-click down to death. He doesn't have any way to get out. No more boots of travel for another 20 seconds. He ends up buying out at the end, and it does look like he's going to end up being brought down. Oh, man, that was such a disastrous fight for Wings when it could have gone so well.
And is considering diving pretty deep for a little bit more, but probably not going to go for the high ground kill.
Well,
but yeah, the game, Wings are under immense pressure. They really are. Like these kind of fights, this reminds me so much of like FY is risking his life to try and go for a kill. Like it gets away. It reminds me a lot of the last game actually, where when VGR were doing well last game, it's because they were dealing with what they needed to deal with, but they were never actually the ones posing the threats. And I feel the same this game. Every time something looks good for Wings, it's because they managed to deal well with VGR. It's never like, oh, now Wings are really strong, what will VGR do? And that's a worrying dynamic, I think, if you're Wings.
You know, the other thing that they have in common this game is that VGR do have the Slark this time around, which is a pretty good hero. Not necessarily to try and take away, but he really provides a lot to this draft for them.
Well, it plays in directly to the dynamic I'm talking about, because Slark is absolutely the kind of hero that like enemy team has to deal with. It always has to be dealt with, and on the opposing end, it's, you know, VGR, you had to deal with their economy. They had all these Midases early on. Now you have to deal with their Slark, you have to deal with their Void, you have to deal with the Invoker. How do you deal with the Phoenix ulti? Some fights Wings have been able to deal with all that stuff because of the way the initiation works, because they save people with Grave or Relocates. But it's I don't think I've ever asked myself in this game how are VGR going to deal with Ember Spirits or DP or like it's never occurred to me because they've not been the ones presenting that kind of threats. And
Yeah.
400 gold now for FY to get to Shivas, and I still think that's the game ending item. I think Phoenix gets Shivas and fights will never be lost by VGR ever again. That's what I think.
We'll see if that indeed is the case. Ice is going to be revealed. They jump forward, are going to be able to catch on to FY. This could be a kill, and they actually are able to burst him down. So pretty nice little play there with the Echo Saber revealed by the Slardar. Now it is looking like it's going to end up being Ice going down himself. The cold snap and no TP definitely means he's going to die. He's able to get out a ward and immediately going to be taken down by DDC. That's a little bit unfortunate, but space created while they were dewarding, right?
Dire's top tower.
Yeah.
Attack.
I guess you could say that. The top tier 2 is going to go down for VGR. That's something for Wings.
Dire's
DP is getting to level 16. She's got her BKB, and that's kind of be her peak time in this game. This is not a, there's a reason that she's built herself this way, recognizing that that's the pressure on them. If the game does go very late, it's going to be very much about just Ember Spirits for Wings. Oh, Yang does finally catch Faith Beyond. I don't know if you saw that little chase, lasted pretty long.
That was pretty nice. Well, that's going
Bouncing around
on.
each other for quite a while.
It looks like Wings are going to try and push up along the top lane again. DDC spots out the DP, but no great way to find the kill there, and it looks like they are going to be able to hold them back for the moment. It's been a tough one. There's no doubt about it. Wings are pretty far behind, and they're making space where possible and continuing to push in the lanes. It does feel, though, like if you get a DP ulti off, or if you win a fight for Wings and you run down one of these lanes, you're going to be in a strong position to take towers, given some of the heroes that they've got with DP. But the problem is I don't think that they can win a fight without DP ulti. So, I don't know.
I don't think they can win a fight with DP ulti. If it's a proper 5v5 fight, I'm sticking by my Phoenix Shiva's call. I really think the next fight's going to be devastating. I think Wings are going to really struggle in the next fight.
When you can see them trying to avoid it, heading out all across the map, and Ember Spirit is good at being able to make that happen. He's got his Chrysalis up now, and it does look like this tier 1 tower is going to fall. He's heading out at the earliest sign of danger possible. He hits the tower twice and then just remnants away. Meanwhile, mid lane's going to keep on being pushed in by End. The Slark, the Silver Edge up is just so terrifying to go up against as well. And then the Ember Spirit heads up top, clears out the creep wave, good to go.
Yeah. So the split pushing strategy, it's the right way for Wings to be playing right now. At the same time, it kind of underpins if they can't take fights, their DP is becoming increasingly useless here in the game, and it becomes just like a 4-1 game where it's all about the Ember Spirits. He's the only chance to win the game. So they might feel that we're already at the point where we have to go all in on the Ember Spirits and just avoid the fights and split push, which would still be not the best sign for them, but I actually think it might be a better approach than trying to take a fight head on. I really think at this point, taking a fight head on is almost suicide for Wings.
Well, it does look like they're sort of taking your advice and trying to make it happen, but bottom lane is now being pushed in, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to avoid the fight that much more. They've got 3 heroes up in the top lane.
And Invoker's got Aegis for just a minute and a half left, so I'm pretty sure VGR are going to actually go the high ground now.
See if they're capable of pulling him back again. Chains catch on a no-no, and End is going to be back again for the moment, but the tier 3 tower is already starting to fall. They don't want to pop that DP ulti too early. They end up being able to get that glyph used as well. And at least for the moment, they're going to hold him back. The tower does finally fall, and VGR might take that as their opportunity to go forward. The whole time you can see that Slardar is still farming away in the enemy jungle. He's just desperately trying to make sure that he's able to have buyback. 127 gold away. Oh, looking.
Void's going to try jump someone, yeah.
This would be a huge play if they're capable of doing it. There's going to be the initiation. Faith Beyond still taking a lot of damage. Chronosphere ends up hitting on it too. Shadow's caught in it. They're going to try and turn onto him. They actually relocate out the Slardar, and meanwhile, permabash. Shadow is going to end up surviving through that just barely. A really big play there for them to make sure that he didn't end up going down. They didn't lose anybody in the Chronosphere. About as good as it could have gone for Wings from the start, and it looks like with that, VGR are going to have to back out. So a nice play. They're able to save their guys. Well, End's going back in now. Gotta be so careful with this play. If he gets caught...
Supernovas, another Shiva's up. So they could fight for sure.
Nice crush. Yeah, the Aegis ends up expiring, and now they're going to use the Ice Wall to try and back out. FY caught. They're going to be able to clip out, but that's going to be the Supernova pop now, and now they jump in with End as well. BKB has already gone down. They have the Exorcism going to be used. Nobody gets caught in that Supernova ulti, and I think with that, Wings are not going to be able to chase too much further. So they hold, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the best could possibly go for Wings. They still lose a Rax, they still lose the tower, and they still have to use the Exorcism in the end there. So, you know, it might be one of those cases where your best just isn't good enough. But Ember Spirit is growing. He did finish his Daedalus, and I do believe it is possible for him to put his team on his shoulders this game. Especially with the amp damage, as I've said a few times already. But it's what's going to be required. And, you know, in that previous fight, Void got a Chrono and Slaughter on Ember, and they didn't kill anyone in the Chrono. That's not always going to happen. And usually when it does happen, it means you're losing a Rax as well, because you're relocating someone else or you're craving someone running away. We're not yet at the point where Wings can kind of hold their ground and fight. It's survive and kind of back off.
Yeah, totally. That's the thing that I was thinking about when I was looking at that engagement that they had is, you know, you win the fight, but you don't put yourself in a position to win the next fight because you don't find any kills on VGR, you don't find any objectives afterwards, you don't have a substantial net worth change that comes about because of it, and it's still feeling like there isn't really... Like, Wings are winning by virtue of out team fighting them in those couple of little engagements, but I don't think you can count on that over and over again. Eventually, VGR are going to sort of wise up and probably find a key pickoff to start the engagement, and then it's kind of all over.
I mean, the fight would be much worse for Wings if it wasn't at their high ground. At their high ground, in that like excellently positioned defensive stance. Having the IO and the Dazzle to save people. These are the things that make it difficult for VGR to actually make kills. But it's, you know, you turn things around, how are Wings supposed to be making the kills? I mean, the plan for Wings at this point is Ember Spirit spams his slides. He hopefully gets lots of crits, and maybe at some point in between, Slaughter will jump in and crush someone, get some amps up, like allow for a few more slides. But ultimately, the only route for Wings to win a fight is either VGR really blunder and stand inside Exorcism and tank it a lot, which they don't need to do, or Ember Spirit is getting crits and crits and crits and crits.
Yeah, and that's, again, putting a lot to chance. Again, this DP is not going to be spotted as of yet, but you do have Slark that's here. He's about to break that. He jumps forward, misses his pounce actually, and with that they should be able to get away for the DP. They already broke and swapped away, so Chronosphere ends up coming down though, and that might be what they need. Is it going to be enough damage though? They end up being able to get off the grave, so Faithbeyond surviving for the moment. That Supernova is already out as well, and suddenly the DP's taking a ton of damage, relocating them back in. Faithbeyond still dropping low. They get off the kill, and that's going to be DP dead. Ice needs to get out of here before things go further far, but look at the damage coming out from Shadow. They might be able to turn this back around if he gets just a couple more lucky crits. There's going to be one of them. He needs at least one more to be able to find the kill. They have to buy back on the Slaughter, looking for No-No. Not going to be able to find him as of yet, though. Looks, jumps, force, not going to be able to get it. Oh, that crush would have been huge if he could have caught him. But they end up getting away, still holding, but just barely.
Yeah, it is another hold. This has cost them a buyback. Their tower didn't even get damaged all that time, so that's, I suppose, a positive sign. But we did see, I mean, when Phoenix went in with the Shivas and the Supernova there, it was like, okay, what are you meant to do? There's no way that they could attack it. They couldn't really run away either because of the heroes pursuing them. And it actually connected and stunned two people, which is like, it's one thing when the Phoenix Supernova sort of connects and the hero respawns and has all the spells again. When it connects and there's heroes underneath it stunning them, those are the kind of fights where you feel like there really is no chance for you. So, all things considered, it's, again, quite incredible that Wings emerged without a chunk of their base missing. It is going to buy a little bit more time for Ember Spirit to get maybe another item and get that much closer to what is their best hope of winning the game, while mid lane Dazzle does get picked off by Slark, which is... It's pretty big, actually. I wonder if they considered doing something with that. It doesn't look like they're in position to do so.
is under attack.
I
Like
mean,
the Dazzle and the IO are absolutely keeping Wings together. If those heroes are out of the picture, it's just the easiest thing in the world for Void to catch a Chrono and a Core and burst them down.
well, and now you can see that they're going to start to push in. The Ember Spirit does a lot of damage, and you can see that the Invoker gets dropped down to about a quarter or rather 3/4 HP when that comes about, and they pull back again on ZYF. Still fine for the moment. He hasn't built into another Scotty or anything. He just has the BKB, the Hand of Midas, and Silver Edge, and 5,000 gold to boot. But it looks like with those couple of sleights of fist, they've dissuaded VGR from trying to move on to high ground.
Yeah, VG are playing a kind of disciplined game. They recognize they could just keep getting rush every time. Might as well go back and get it. Keep farming up, extending their lead. I mean, it's a unique situation when you get the Ember Spirit where you're far ahead, you extend your lead, but actually, even though you're still gapping them, his items are more valuable than yours. And looks like Wings are gonna contest rush.
All or nothing, big plays to come out. They jump on it. Oh, the tornado, the counter initiation is there. DDC dropping low, but not dead as of yet. They need to get the Chronosphere off. Not going to be able to find him. They do also have the DP ulti, but there's the Chrono onto that. Trying to survive through it. They get the Grave off. There's going to still be a lot of damage, but I think he's still going to end up going down. And Ice from afar, not going to be able to keep him alive as of yet. Sunstrike comes through. They find the kill. Yang is going to drop to the Ember, but maybe going to be able to dodge away from the tornadoes a second time. They have another Sleight of Fists in a second. If they can find it, Ice TP is not going to end up being able to get out of there, as the Grave is not going to be able to keep him alive. Ember Spirit, he needs to escape, but 4 dead, man, it's just so hard for Wings at this point. Shadow is going to end up needing to remnant away. He did a lot of damage, but not nearly enough.
Yeah,
Radiant's bottom
tries to
barracks
waste their time a bit, cut them around, but yeah, I suppose Wings felt like they don't want to give up another rush for free. It's going to be really difficult to hold their base if they do. But it's one of those situations where you really don't back them to win that fight. So they have to weigh up the pros and cons of, well, how bad is it to go up against the Aegis versus should we risk taking a fight that we're not favored in? You know, are we rather going to avoid the bad fights and take a better fight at the high ground, but against the Aegis? And they decide that they want to contest. They maybe, if they got 1 or 2 more slides of slightly more crits, there's a chance of winning it, but in a way, it's just stuck between a rock and a hard place. Neither decision is very good for Wings.
Yeah. And I don't know if they were smoked up when they headed out there, but it felt like the Invoker was absolutely ready for the Slardar when he came in. All of the heroes for VGR spread out. A couple of them were the only ones that stayed in the Roche pit. But if they had not had, you know, the vision, the understanding that was going to come out from the side of Wings, maybe you end up being able to get the crush onto 2 or 3. You get some more cleave damage that comes out, and you find an easy kill. But as it stands, just not going to be the case. No, looking to see if he can catch the Dazzle, but not going to be able to find him. And instead, it's going to turn his
be
sight.
much bigger. It does have a Hex up, but Ember blinks, jumps away. I believe they did smoke towards the Rush Pit, but the ward at the mid lane probably spotted their smoke.
Yeah.
And that would be why VG knew they were coming.
Well, again, VGR with the Aegis now up and already 1 melee barracks down. This might be time to go for them, as they have everything available. They've got Shivas, they've got Supernova. I mean, they've got pretty much everything, and I don't really see a great way for Wings to hold them back this time outside of just trying to clear out these creep waves as quickly and as efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
Oh, Rush, maybe going to be able to do something here. A little bit of trouble. Forces out the BKB. They might want to fight during this now, actually, and Yang is going to do so much damage to Ice, and they're going to be able to actually relocate him out. So Grave and Relocate have both been used. They ended up trying to go for the Sunstrike in base, didn't end up connecting there, and now Chronosphere drops onto Shadow. They don't have anything defensive for him. He's going to end up going down. They've lost the Ember Spirit, and right now buyback status not available. It's on cooldown. This could potentially be it. Never mind, he actually did buyback. So he's there in the midst of the fight. It looks like they are going to be able to chase after Innocence, and in a little bit of trouble, maybe. He already got critted once, might end up going down again. They find the kill, really huge there, and maybe going to be able to take a little bit more. Faith Beyond dropping really low. That Ghost Scepter is going to not be able to keep him alive. Shadow dodges away, trying to escape, and FY is going to fall. The Sunstrike dodged by Shadow! Oh, they're able to get out of there. So they lose 3, but took down the Slark and the Phoenix. Is it going to be enough, though? No jumps in. He's going to throw out that Deafening Blast and turns his sights onto the Tier 3 tower.
Needs to be a little bit careful. I guess he stores the Aegis. Ember Spirit's pretty strong. Slark's not around. Void doesn't have ulti. It's not. I mean, yeah, there's no tools for control, so it's just about Emmerswood spamming slides at this stage.
Oh, they get the Hex. They're going to be able to find him. This is going to end up being just about it. They find the kill, 110 seconds with no Ember, and unfortunately, that's going to be the end of the series. Wings call GG, and VGR are the ones that take it. The celebratory deafening blast in the fountain. Scant, what are your thoughts on this series here?
Nono played very well in this series. FY drafted very nicely in this last game. I think really recognizing the potential weaknesses of the previous draft, and avoiding getting cheese, banning the Drow on the Elk, avoiding getting out team forward, starting with the Phoenix and the Void. I really like that a lot, and I think Wings have played quite well, but one of the downsides in drafting so many different things is that on a given day you might of the 50 different drafts you do, maybe you don't pick the 3 best ones, or your enemies are equipped to deal with those ones, something like that. But yeah, VGR, this puts them, I think, 1 match away from the Summit LAN.
Yeah.
Whereas Wings will have to go back down and face whoever wins between IG and Newbie, if I'm correct.
Yep, I'll actually pull up the brackets real quickly so you fine folks out there can see. With that, we're going to see that Wings are going to drop down, and VGR, meanwhile, are going to move up, and they're going to earn their spot in the best of 5 grand finals, which is going to be taking place the day after tomorrow. Right now, immediately following the series, it's going to be Invictus Gaming facing off against Newbie. We'll be back with that one in just a few minutes. I'll let you know as things end up getting changed and updated, and the lobby's hosted and all that other good things. Again, follow us on Twitter if you feel so inclined, at Lyrical Dota, at Scantzor. Any final words before we finish off this first series for today?
No, nothing in particular. I mean, I still do think Phoenix is like ridiculously powerful hero. Needs to be respected more. Even in China, where it's regularly picked and banned early on, I still think it needs more respect than that. It needs to always be banned. We'll see what happens with the hero in the next series.
All right, well, thank you guys again for tuning in. We'll be back in just a little bit. Their second series, again, that's going to be IG facing off against Newbie. Stick around, everybody, with more from the Summit 5 qualifiers, Chinese region.